Good morning from Munich, Germany. This morning we are taking a walking tour. We're actually using the same tour guide that Chrissy and her mother, when they visited Munich a few years back, used. So yeah, looking forward to checking out Munich. Our guide took us to one of these secret kind of alleyways in Munich, and what it is, it kind of represents what this area kind of looked like in the 1300s, I think, 12 or 1300s, before there was a major fire to change a lot of what Munich looks like today with the bigger, wider streets. But when you walk through here, you really get a sense of how small the streets used to be in this city.
Outside of St. Peter's Church, and one of the interesting things that our guide told us was that they've always wanted to do excavation on this church to figure out exactly how old it is, because churches are always built upon churches, which are always built upon churches, but they never wanted to ruin the foundations of the church, of course. And so after World War II, when this was bombed quite a bit, they were able to actually do the excavations, and they found out that this was a church built upon a church, and I think it was 800 AD that they've discovered was the very first building on this site of religious beings. So pretty interesting.
The Americans and the British bombed Munich pretty hard. I guess there was about 1,000 planes a day when they were doing their raids that was bombing this city. And the only way that they were able to put the city back together was actually through a lot of different plans, as well as pictures that the Germans took of the city, because they knew at some point that it was going to be bombed. So they took a lot of documentation to have documents of what the city looked like. And so that's what they used to rebuild the city after the 1940s when the raid happened from the Allies. One of the interesting things is that Austria earlier would do random potshots into the city. Austria and Munich, Bulgaria would have random spouts of battles every once in a while, and so Austria would just shoot random cannons into the city, and one actually hit one of the windows of this church, of St. Peter's Church behind me here. And during the raid, the church mostly survived, but one of the cannons actually shook out of the window, and a gentleman who had walked by here many times during his life found the cannonball and actually sitting on the ground, and had kept it for himself for 20 years or something like that. And so when the rebuilding started happening, his older man then brought it back and said, hey, this goes back into this particular spot, because he knew exactly where it was. And they were actually found 2 pictures that documented where this cannonball was to actually prove what this guy said was true. And you can actually come here and that cannonball is still in the window even today. We just got back from our walking tour and then walking back through Munich again because our tour guide had given us so much stuff that I honestly totally forgot to do any filming or anything like that as we were walking around, just because I was so enthralled by what he had to say about just the general history of Munich, as well as the Third Reich and their start kind of in the whole area. Yeah, just overall, just a really wonderful experience. And so we had to go back through and kind of refilm some of the stuff that we had walked around in, because like I said, I totally forgot to do any kind of filming whatsoever.
There's no way we can do justice to what our guide told us. Mm-hmm. So I recommend highly, if you're ever in Munich, to use in Munich tours. But if you can't go to Munich and you want to learn history, just do some research on Munich and how the Nazi Party started and the area, and it's very fascinating. I learn something new every time I come, and this time was no exception. Definitely learned more things.
Yeah, we'll put a link below the video here for inmunichtours.com, and so you can connect with this company, and it was just a wonderful experience. Can't highly suggest it enough. Good morning. Today we are on our way to the Deutsches Museum. It's a pretty popular destination for tourists and even locals to come visit. Apparently it's a really good museum. One of like 3 huge museums they have in the area. So we're gonna visit one for now. We'll see if we get over to the other 2. So a scientist had used this boat to basically go across the Atlantic Ocean to see if it was possible for anybody who was thrown overboard into a tiny boat to see if they were able to survive the journey. He used to say he was physically and mentally almost broken by the time this experiment was over. He capsized twice, and his clothes constantly wet, and lack of exercise and food and fresh water. It doesn't seem like a very enjoyable trip. Behind me, the Deutsches Museum actually has one of the planes that was originally built by the Wright brothers. It is not a carbon copy. This is actually one of the few in the world that was actually built by them.
What's really neat about this museum is it has lots of different sections talking about different things. Glass, brick, technology, airplanes, submarines, ships, all sorts of different things. And each of them start out as, this was the original history that we know of from way, 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 way back then. And then you slowly move through time to get to, okay, and this is what we're doing now. And so as a kid, you can kind of figure out, oh, that's the glass that I drink out of. This is how it's made, and this is how it used to be made. So it's a really good design of a museum.
Gotta say, I'm really impressed with the Deutsches Museum. They cover so many different topics, from technologies to metals to aerospace to all sorts of various subjects that you can get into, and there's tons of information. And as Chrissy mentioned, they cover everything from the beginning of that particular subject to the newest ways that they are doing those particular things. It's just so much information, and I highly suggest, if you're out here in Munich, to go check it out.
Good morning from Passing, Germany, a suburb outside of Munich. Today Mike went with a friend up into the mountains a little bit, or at least onto a hike, and I wasn't feeling up to it, but I did want to get out into the sun because where we're staying is a basement and you can't see the sun at all. So my goal today is to try and find some postcards. I'm gonna head into this post office behind me, and hopefully I can find some postcards to send. All right, no postcards, but at least I know where I can go to send my postcards when I find it. It's interesting because it's a post office and a bank together. So now I know there's a Rossmann's down the corner, so I will check that out next. Maybe I'll see something pretty too. All right, no success in Rossmann's, but I did get some pretty nail polish, which my toes desperately need. We are in a suburb, so I don't really expect to find postcards, but we'll see if we can at the train station. All right, I got my postcards written. Now, back to the post office, get them sent. I took a bus down through Poznan. Poznan's a really cool suburb. Like, if I ever was to live in Munich, I think I'd like to be here. It's very diverse. There's a lot of different shops, things to do. But it really looks like a very normal place to live with families and things. But yeah, I decided to take a bus down park because, like I said, I'm feeling kind of tired, so I took the bus to the park and I got this way. So I can walk back or take the bus back. The park is along one of the canals, a lot of canals in Munich, and our tour guide Marcin told us about it, so I'm gonna eat my lunch there, maybe see some ducks, then attempt to walk back to our place. We'll see if I give and go into the bus instead. I do love pretzels. Could be a reason I might move to Germany, is just for pretzels. Looks like I found a cemetery to walk in. It's always beautiful to see how other cultures celebrate their past loved ones. Well, maybe it's because I only generally go to graveyards that are historical, older, you know, the oldest cemetery in the city, whereas this is a community cemetery. It's very large. But I'm really surprised at how well all the gardens are kept. So every grave has like a little garden, and they all have the new seasonal flower on there. It's like 40, 50 people here cleaning up the graves of their family. Like, usually you can tell if they're workers, but no, these are just people coming to celebrate their ancestors. It's very beautiful. Some of the graves have multiple names on them, so I can only assume it's a cremation and then like a family grave. Very pretty, very, very beautiful. So I'm walking along, minding my own business, trying to get back to my place, and I found this big old field. I was like, what the heck is this? It's sunflowers, sunflower field. My energy is about up. Looked at the Google Maps to tell me how to get onto the bus. Google Maps said, nope, you're not near any buses. You need to walk your butt home. So I will slowly take my walk home, and then I will go and paint my nails and watch some YouTube and relax just a little bit.
Well, I've been enjoying the day so much, I totally forgot to do an intro to Starnberg, where one of my lovely friends we met here in Germany took us on a path that he has on this lovely app that you can get here when you're in Germany that takes you on all these wonderful paths depending on what type of day you want to have with yourself. So yeah, look at all the wonderful highlights that I filmed along the way of this path today. But man, what a beautiful day in Germany.